welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we'll be talking about Couples Therapy Season 4, Episode 11.
I need you to subscribe, like, share, comment, all the above. Let's go.
All right, so Orna is telling us that Mondo was first generation and he was a translator for his parents. So according to her, it seems like he was always in the role as a parent. He's very accommodating, and it's at the point where it seems like he's getting tired of it. So we get into Kyle and Mondo's therapy session. Mondo didn't understand how the identity of deafness was linked to the open relationship. He basically talked about when Kyle had his last hookup. Mondo was at the house. It was 4 a.m. Kyle was out, and he wanted to have that experience because the guy was deaf and there was a connection there. The majority of men that Kyle has slept with have been deaf.
Wait a minute.
And Mondo is questioning, is he trying to fill up a cup that he's not getting at home? Kyle asks himself, if Mondo were deaf, what would the relationship look like? He doesn't really know, but sometimes he does feel frustrated because he didn't feel the freedom that he wanted growing up. Mondo is feeling inadequate when Kyle hooks up with a guy who is deaf. Kyle asks if Mondo feels burdened that he doesn't fully understand him. And Mondo says that he doesn't feel burdened. He loves him and he will do whatever he needs to do for their relationship.
Hey, Mondo, leave this guy. I understand that, you hear that somebody have a disability and you already feel like, you know what, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be soft with this guy. But Kyle, with his disability, that's not stopping him from being an a-hole. At least that's how I'm viewing it. He's over here hooking up with other deaf men, right? Which, listen, you're deaf, you're hooking up with other deaf men, cool, right? But don't come home and then look at me and be like, I wonder how our relationship would be if you was deaf. Well, I'm not deaf, right? And then on top of that, when you needed help and things of that nature, understand and communicate and things like that, I'm there to help you. So don't try to basically like look at me as if I'm the one that's like something wrong with me, as if I got 3 heads and things like that, where you're the one staying out till 4 o'clock in the morning. You're the one disrespecting the relationship. You're the one trying to make me deaf and things of that nature. And I'm like, if you feel like you want to be part of your community or that community to where it's like, you know what, I want to be with people who are like me because now I actually have the freedom to actually say I'm a deaf man or basically I'm a deaf male, then do that. Mondo, I think you need a little more self-esteem to basically, like, you don't have to take this. Like, you don't have to sit down with this. And maybe that have to do a lot with how you grew up, because at the end of the day, you felt like you had to be the parent a lot. So now a lot of things were being poured into you. But now you're an adult, and even though you may not be the reason, you got to deal with it. You have to find some type of self-esteem, some type of confidence to where you're not getting basically I don't want to say abused by like this guy.
Maybe the short end of the stick.
Yeah, that's like there's no reason why Mondo should be ever getting the short end of the stick, especially when you say you don't want to be in this type of relationship. Walk away.
Yeah. Whew. So immediately my thought is break up. It'll be easier. Y'all don't want the same thing. It seems like Kyle is a bit unfulfilled in the relationship, and that is why he's stepping out, even though he doesn't really necessarily want to say it like that because it can come across as mean. And Mondo, he doesn't want to have a open relationship. You guys want different things.
Yeah.
But since we're in therapy, and I don't know. I was going to say in therapy with you guys coming here, the goal is kind of trying to see how we can work this out for you guys to be together. But I think the goal is for you guys to come to realizations about what it is that you want and have the tools to move into action on those things. And because I was going to go down a whole different path of like, okay, how could we make this relationship work? And I was going to rack my brain about it. But you know what? I'm not, because it's just not.
You sound like Mondo. Exactly. Like there's no way.
Like it's just not, like y'all don't want the same thing. And that goes for any type of relationship, whether you're, polygamous. We do what? Sister wives. Cody wanted Robin, seemed like, and nobody else. And then nobody else want to sit around and be in the 3rd, 4th rate wife. So it's just like, even in a polygamous relationship, if we don't want the same things and hold the same values, then it needs to come to an end.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying.
Not that they are polygamous, but yeah.
But no, Kyle want to be polygamous.
Possibly down the road.
And I'm like, Kyle, first of all, if I would have gotten word, if I was in a relationship with somebody and they are basically looking at me and resenting me secretly because I'm not deaf, I'm like, you know what? we're good.
Yeah.
We're good. Kyle, go and free yourself.
Mm-hmm. So we move on to Boris and Jessica.
Yeah.
In 2015, when they first met, she was singing in a jazz group in a Russian restaurant, and he worked in the kitchen in that restaurant. He saw her, but she didn't see him at first. He started chatting her up. They were having good conversation, but he noticed that she had a wedding band on.
Ooh.
So Boris said that it would have been nice to hang out with her more and to have more conversation with her, but she would always stand him up. And she said, I was not standing you up. I was married. And I was not about to hang out with you being married.
Yeah.
But as time progressed, she ended up sending a letter to her ex-husband or husband at the time saying she wanted to end things. She ended up falling in love with Boris, moving in with him, and that's how their relationship got started.
Okay.
To me, I'm like, started on a little shaky ground, if you ask me.
Just a little shaky. Just a little shaky.
Yeah, she talks about how when she left her marriage, she was misaligned and looking for something to hold on to. He says that they operate very differently. He anticipates problems and just goes ahead and gets things done. When kids arrived, the task list became so long that he developed rage for how much he had to do. Jessica is feeling angry because his view of her confidence at different points in their lives is unfair. Boris doesn't like her to go to the grocery store for shopping because she doesn't shop efficiently or economically. Tomatoes were an example of this. So she went to get some tomatoes. They cost a little bit more, but he said he's the type who will go the extra block to get some cheaper tomatoes. They're still good tomatoes. I'm not trying to get trash tomatoes, but they're a little bit cheaper. Jessica says that Boris finds her to be forgetful and unreliable, so that's why he has to do everything himself. Jessica says that's never been her role in previous relationships, and she doesn't see why she is this person in his mind and in this relationship.
What are your thoughts?
Okay. Few things I feel like are going on at this point.
Help me.
I feel like the fact that you guys ended up how you ended up, or basically started your relationship how you started it, is already on shaky ground. Was it lust drawing you guys together? Was it real love? Did you actually know each other before you dived into this whole life together? And it's making me think that you probably didn't. And now you're trying to work out the kinks later because you actually were just like a love, like wind or whatever. What's the
whirlwind?
Word? A whirlwind, right?
I'm good at taboo. Thank you.
Thank you. You're very good. I'm just like, was this love whirlwind where she divorced her husband, moved in with him, y'all started life together, and now you actually getting to learn who each other are, you know? But since we're here and we're talking about tomatoes and shopping and how he views her, then it's just like there's two different perspectives going on here.
Yeah.
I think one, with the fact that they are living in New York, he doesn't have a job that pays much if he's even still working with creative writing was his career. And Jessica being the primary breadwinner in the house, he's probably very aware of the money that comes and goes out of the house. And sometimes men don't like feeling like they don't have a hand in the finances. Yeah. And so I think that is his way of trying to have a hand in the finances and also to keep the family above water. And also he don't want to be in expensive New York anyway. Then the other thing is with Jessica, I feel like she isn't being given the space to operate how she wants to operate. Yeah. He's so frustrated and unhappy with the current state that they're in. I feel like he is trying to control every little thing around or inside their household. And I think that, yes, there can be a potential for her to possibly not do things the way that he would like them to be done. Yeah. But is it wrong or is it just not how you want it done? And so that's the big question. Now, if I'm going to give him a little bail to get out of jail, so to say, maybe Jessica can be a little bit forgetful. Maybe she can be a little bit lax about, I don't really care about how much this costs. I'm just going to get it because I'm here. When he knows this is our budget and you're going over our budget every week because you don't want to walk an extra block. Okay. And then to me, that's where you communicate and say, hey, I need you to do this. But if you're in a relationship and you're telling the person and then they're not doing it, then it does get put back on you to be the one who has to get everything done. And that is frustrating. So your thoughts?
Here's the thing about him, right? And I need clarification. Maybe I need to rewatch the episode. I don't know if she got divorced because she wanted to be with him per se, right? because they was joking about it, and she don't like the joke, right? And he said, look, it's just a joke that I say. I really don't have a problem with it. I really don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
That's another example of him disregarding her feelings of this, because he knows she don't like the joke. He keep making the joke, right? The same way as he don't like when she is sarcastic and things of that nature. So my thing is, you have to do unto others what you want done to you and things like that, right? So when it comes to that, I'm not even on how it started. To be honest, a lot of things may start off rocky, and years may go down the line, and truth be told, it may turn out to be a successful marriage or not, right? So, but I'm on when he said he anticipate problems, right? So that already lets me know that the problem is not there.
Right.
The problem is not present.
It's in your head.
Right? It's all in your head, right? So he anticipate problems. So because he anticipates it, he already jumps into solution mode, and he already starts fixing the problem that haven't arrived yet, right? Which never gives her the chance to show that she is equal in the partnership.
Right.
That's why he can say, I don't like the way that she does things. It's not efficient. Well, guess what? Of course, you are the most efficient because you're working on a problem before it even shows up. So he's not giving her the space to show up as herself because he already anticipated the problem. And the tomato example, which I actually like the tomato example. The tomato example can be a metaphor for how she shows up in the marriage and how he shows up in the marriage. To him, he's like, I'll go the extra mile to make sure that we still get the same value of tomato, the same type of quality of tomato and things like that, to where you just like, it is what it is with you. Yeah. Right. And I think it's not so much of the grocery shopping, but I think he's looking for her to go the extra mile. Right. But the thing about the extra mile, my guy, right, is you can't take that extra mile and apply it to, see, I want to move out of New York, go the extra mile for me and just get up and move. Because that goes back to the first episode. Remember what he said? He said, hey, if the shoe was on the other foot, if I had a partner that wasn't comfortable here, I would just say, let's get up and move, right? Yes, in a way, but you already did that before.
But also you didn't, because she wasn't happy in Montana. Y'all was there for 2 years.
And my thing is, you've been to multiple places.
Right.
And my thing is, when you had the control and when you was flying the plane, we kept landing at different places. So how do I know that, hey, you're going to find your happiness at the next place? So at the end of the day, you get to chase your happiness. You get to chase your peace while I have to start over every time. Right. And that's not fair. But I think there is something, especially from a guy perspective, a guy just wants a partner who will go the extra mile. And a lot of people, and to Blair's point, it may not be right or wrong, because even though it may not be, the way she do things may not be efficient, but at the same time, it's not wrong. But at the same time, are you doing your best though? Yeah. Like that's all a guy wants, because a guy, at least a good guy, right? A good partner, because it's not only guys, because it could be one partner and not the other. A spouse or a partner or whatever, they want to know that, hey, I went the extra mile for you. Will you go the extra mile for me? But they need to define specifically what their extra mile is.
Yeah, and it can't just be whatever extra mile he cooks up in his head.
It can't be.
She will never know what direction to take if he's saying, well, you should have done this and you should have done that. And she's just like, you never communicated any of this with me.
No. And my thing is, what are your ways? You are specifying, my guy, what it looks like to go the extra mile for you. Okay, now how can you show up for her? Because she's saying, I never had this problem of feeling like I'm inadequate. I am inadequate in like my being with anybody else. Yeah. So this is my first time feeling like I'm not good enough. How I shop is not good enough. How I do things is not good enough. I spend money, apparently to you, on tomatoes to where I actually can get $1 cheaper down the street. It's not efficient, so you don't even like the fact how I do it. Right. Forget the money part. So they need to define what it looks like to go the extra mile for each other and things like that.
All right, so we move on to Rod and Allison.
Yeah.
They talk about how yesterday was not good.
It wasn't.
Allison was bananas.
Yes, she was.
She said that she was stressed out and she took it out on Rod. Rod said it's like you just popped up and pooped on me and walked away.
That's literally what she did.
And he talks about how he finished work. He was watching the news. She came in screaming about asking if he took the dog out. And then she walked away. And Orna asks, why does she sound angry? Like currently, right now, why do you sound mad? And Allison says that she's mad that she acted that way last night because she projects everything onto him. She apologizes to Rod for her behavior last night, but she needs him to communicate. He accepts the apology, but tells her, don't do it again. She made a joke, apparently, about them having sex. He said sometime soon, but she would have wanted him to say, like, let's do it right now. Like, she wanted to feel desired. And the question is, so how could you interact with Rod in order for you to get what you need?
Yeah.
She starts saying, well, I need him to ask me. And Orna's like, no. What do you need to do? Not what does he need to do? What do you need to do in order to get what you want out of him?
Yeah.
And she says, honestly, I could have just went over to him and gave him a hug and a kiss. Orna asks, well, how are you guys doing sexually? He says they haven't been intimate in a while, and she agrees. She always wants more sex than him. He would like to get sexually involved again, but he needs her to be calm and kind. There is no desire to be physical currently. Maybe he says he bruises easier with the way that she talks to him, yells at him. She tells him that he becomes her dumping ground. He's withdrawing. She's approaching with rage. And that's substituting passion with bickering is what Orna explains to them.
Yeah.
Orna tasks Allison with reducing or eliminating the bruising that she's doing. And Rod also needs to increase the verbal and physical intimacy.
Here's the thing, right? How can I want to have sex with you when you're being mean to me? Like some things are not complicated. Some things are very that simple. You come in, you dump on me, right? You come in, you yell at me, and you're mean to me, and then you want me to fix it by having sex with you? Why? Listen here. I understand that on the surface it may be the incorrect way to say it, but I'm gonna say it just so everybody can understand what I'm saying. I don't feel no feminine energy coming from Allison, right? And the way that it was described, it was like, you're not kind, you're not nice enough. And one thing that I would say about Allison, which is actually interesting, usually whenever somebody is does this or basically dumping on someone, they're kind of doing it without them like presently knowing it, you know? But she said that the reason why she was angry and the reason why she feels the way that she felt and things like that is because she knew that she came in. She knew that she misbehaved the night before. And she was embarrassed and she was basically mad at herself. But even though she knows how she feels, I don't think she particularly know what to do, right? With those feelings. So it's not good enough to know why and what you feel. Is also you need to know why and what you need to know what to do. So in regards, or basically her response to knowing her feelings, she said, I wanted him to communicate better. Wait a minute now. You're the one that came in on hots. I wanted him to basically be like, let's have sex right now. Wait a minute. You just yelled at me. And he said something that is very true, and maybe it's very true for his age. He said, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm bruising easily now, right? And that lets me know right there that, hey, they probably always communicated this way. It always worked for them until it doesn't. Right. There comes a point to where there's wear and tear on the communication on how they talk to each other. So at first it's like, oh, cool. Like, I'm cool with being dumped, but on being a dumping ground. But like he said, I have patience for my daughter, right? Because maybe that's what changed. Maybe, they usually say when a father have a child or when a father have a daughter specifically, he gets softer. You get what I'm saying? So maybe he's like, you know what? I'm not the same guy that I was when we was talking earlier and things like that. I bruise easily. I want to be talked to nicely. I want a kind person. And he said, maybe I bruise easily. And she's confused because she's like, he always been my dumping ground. Right. Who do I get to dump my feelings and my emotions and my problems on? Because it's not like I'm at work. You get what I'm saying? I can't dump it on my kid. You get what I'm saying? So I think she needs an outlet. She needs to know how to handle her feelings and know what to do with them besides dumping it on her partner. Yeah. So I'm going to start with him just because I think Allison is clearly a big problem in the relationship, but I'm going to start with him just from my perspective.
I think that as a woman in a relationship with a man,
Okay.
I think that sometimes men can be kind of aloof to a lot of things.
Okay.
And I think that sometimes women want affection. They want someone to be attentive to them and to pay attention to them. And I think that it depends on the type of woman that you are, of how you manage that. Because I think sometimes men just don't realize whether they're not doing it or they're busy with work or busy just with family life, which, you know, both people can be. But sometimes as a woman, like, you just want him to pick up that you need that. You don't always want to be the one to have to say, okay, let me go hug him. Let me go kiss him. Let me ask him for time. Like, let me, you know, do all these things in order to get what I want. Like, can he just see that I'm been working and everything like that and just cuddle me one day or just take me out or something like that? Like, can he do that for me? And I think that that's part of her reaction to where she's saying, I need him to communicate. I need him to do this, because, like, when are you going to step up and step out in order to change the trajectory of the relationship? Like, when is it your turn? But Allison comes across to me as an erratic individual who is unstable right now. And I think with her, and the way that she chooses to go about expressing her emotions, like she said, I could have just gave him a hug and a kiss, but I was frustrated, so I yelled at him. And the thing is, it's like, yes, you can be frustrated that he's not picking up on your needs at the moment, but you yelling at him is not going to get you what you want at the end of the day.
No, it's not.
And you have to do better at communicating your needs. And even if you have to do it repetitively, I mean, you guys are married. Hopefully you'll be together for the rest of your lives. So there's going to be a lot of repeating yourself. Okay. And just kind of learning how to work within that frustration in order for both of your needs to be met.
Yeah.
And I think that when it comes to people like Allison, who can be kind of erratic and reactive in their behavior, they expect people to just deal with it. Yeah. This is how I am. This is how I react to things. Y'all know how I am. So because of that, I'm going to lash out, have my moment, my temper tantrum, and then everything's going to be fine once I'm fine. And to me, that sounds like an individual therapy type of thing. Because, like, Orna's task to her wasn't even necessarily, I would say, like, an object or an action externally. It's more of, you need some self-control. Control yourself. Like, I know there's a lot of people out there who be like, oh, he can't handle me or they can't handle me. You need to learn how to handle yourself.
Facts.
Okay.
but she can't handle herself. Yeah. That's why when she's mad at herself or when she's disappointed in herself, what she does, she attacks someone else. Yeah. Besides actually sitting with it. And I was sharing with Blair, I said, whatever is Allison's her name, right? Yeah. Whatever her problem is, I don't think he's the source of it. I think Allison been through a lot. I think she dealt with a lot of hurt. Her father just passed away and things of that nature. And you can literally see her body, like, she's already in fight or flight mode. Like,
just sitting, she's very tense. Yeah.
She's very tense. And I think once we get into deeper sessions with Allison, she needs to trust herself to be able to deal with the pain and hurt that she's been through in her life, so that she can be open and hopefully that he can accept it and see her. But even though I understand what Blair was saying and the whole, like, how come he just can't know just to cuddle me or just know what to say something to me or to hold me and things like that. Listen here, you can't just, I'm not a psychic. Yeah. Right. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not a psychic, and we have to apply the same rules to both sexes. So if you want him to just be kind to you, then you got to be kind to him, and it's just that simple. It's just that plain and simple. Yeah. So Orna talks about how Rod and Allison are the classic approach avoid. He's avoiding, and she is approaching with rage. Nick and Katherine are both the avoidant types. They think that they're reaching out to each other, but they're actually not. They're both hidden. Yeah. There's something traumatic in Nick's background that is just kind of lingering that Orna can kind of sense, but he's not bringing it out into the open for them to have conversations to work through it. Now listen here. Listen to this scene, because I'm going to break this scene down, and it's going to be very... I'm going to break this scene down in a way that I was like, oh, I know what's going on here. You ready? Yes.
So, Nick and Katherine session. They had a birthday party for their kid, turned 6 years old, and it caused a rift between them. He thought that it was overpriced. It ended up costing them $3,000.
Yeah.
She talks about how she plans a lot of stuff alone. She wants him to just basically come and collaborate with her at times.
Okay.
After the party, she cleaned up and he laid on the couch, didn't help her, just watched her clean up. And that also made her mad.
That's true.
They spent $3,000. He's saying, now I have to figure out how to cover this. And she's talking about, well, it's not like I paid it in credit cards. I paid it in cash. He said, but you were pulling it from my business accounts, other accounts, just pulling willy nilly out the sky. And now I have to figure out how to put that money back into the accounts.
Yeah.
And Orna asked, well, why can't they plan together? And she said, well, she didn't know Nick wanted to have a budget. And he said that he talked to her throughout the whole thing. And he is a little bit tighter with it. And Orna's like, well, it seems like you're tight after the fact because you're not really communicating what the expectations are from the beginning. If you were tight in advance, then you would have said no to the party being $3,000.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I did kind of say it. And he said not to get the cotton candy machine, and I didn't get the cotton candy machine. And Nick said, but also I feel like I'm going to take their joy away, and it's a complicated dynamic to where he has to essentially be the bad cop. Katherine brings up how he saw his parents fight about money and he felt like he was in the middle of it growing up. And Nick says he's wondering if he wants to crack this egg because Orna's asking him, tell me a bit more about what that was like. Yeah. And he's just like, do I want to say?
I hope so.
He wants to be careful about what he says because his dad is still here. His mom has passed, but he says his mom got sad during his teenage years and he feels like it was his fault. He was doing drugs, hanging out with his friends, and his mom's sadness came with the pressure of the lack of what she hoped for someone to take care of her, and she had to care for everyone else, and it ended up upsetting her. Orna asks, is that why you don't feel comfortable saying no? Because you wish that somebody would have given your mom everything that she wanted. Yeah. And if someone provided for her what she needed, then she wouldn't have gotten depressed, sick, and died. So again, she's like, there's this big story that's unresolved. Orna sees it hanging over their heads and they're just not touching it.
Listen to this, right? Nick and Katherine, right? So there was this big party, right? And obviously, as y'all heard, that it cost him a lot of money. Yeah. Right? It has been discovered throughout the story that he, throughout the process, was alluding that, hey, we're spending too much. We're spending too much. And she is being aloof, which I would say she's choosing to be aloof. Because she's like, it's not like we paid it on credit cards, like we paid, it's paid for. You just got to figure out how to deal with, the ramifications of the accounts that you pulled it from. Right. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, we paid for it, but I had to pull from my business accounts. And that's when she was like, but like it will be there. And he's like, how? Like from whom? Like how would it get there? So here's the thing about it, right? Katherine, throughout this whole time in the first episode, she was speaking for Nick, being a translator for Nick, being an interpreter for Nick. And now that she has a little fault in this, now all of a sudden, she's not the interpreter no more. Now she don't understand Nick. You get what I'm saying? I think what happened in this situation, I think many times throughout their relationship, they've been together for 14 years. She understands Nick. She knows what Nick means. She knows how to speak Nick, right? So throughout the process of her getting what she wanted for their kid, in the sense of having this big party, she wanted to say, well, you didn't say that you wanted a budget. You didn't say there was a budget there. But if he was alluding and you understand and speak Nick, I think you would have been more understanding that, hey, he's pulling from business accounts to pay this off. And then you're over here basically saying, well, I got rid of the cotton candy machine. And I'm just like, okay, so what? That brought it down to $3,000? Like, I wonder how much it cost before the cotton candy machine. So I think in this moment, she is choosing to be aloof, choosing to be ignorant, choosing to act like she don't understand that, hey, she may have did too much. Now, do I put some stock into him not helping her clean and not helping her basically put the house back together once, the party's over? Yes, a little bit, but I could see that as resentment.
Passive aggression.
Yeah, passive aggression. I can see that as him being mad that he now has to figure it out, because even she said, like, you know, you just got to figure out what you got to do with it. So in a way, he's kind of like, I paid for it, you deal with the rest of with everything. Is that right? No. Right? So just flat out, objectively, that's not right, because I am not a fan of passive aggressiveness at all. Right? Now, when it comes down to basically, he's saying now, by if I was to say something, if I was to speak up and say, hey, this is too much, then you put me in a position to be the bad cop. You basically put me in a position to take away happiness, to take away joy for basically a good cause. And then I asked the question, no, that's not true, Nick. Your perspective on things is whack. Your perspective of things is off. It's not 2020. By you actually having a budget, that's a kid. The kid don't know the difference between a $3,000 party and a $1,000 party. They might not even remember. They may not even remember. You get what I'm saying? So it's the whole idea that you are dealing with, which he kind of cracked the egg a little bit, but he not showing us all. You're trying to basically redo and trying to deal with that guilt that you may have felt, that you probably wasn't the best son as a teenager. Granted, I wasn't the best son as a teenager, and both my parents passed away and things of that nature. But you can't deal with that guilt by trying to redo it and basically trying to relive life by basically like, now I'm the parent and I'm gonna make sure I give my kid everything and things of that nature. Also, the weight of basically a child not supposed to take care of a parent. So I understand that, you know, a lot of things happen to his mom, and she may have hoped that, you know, one day my kid could take care of me. But I wonder, what was the state of that family to where she's depending on her children to take care of her? And what does that specifically mean?
See, I didn't read it that way.
Help me.
I felt like it wasn't that she wanted her children to take care of her, but there was nobody there to provide for her financially or to provide for her in the way that she can have all of her wants fulfilled. Yeah. So whether that's her husband or the job that she had or just kind of life kind of beating her down in a way. Potentially. And also her children being bad. That is true. That I think that it sounds like she got depressed by how her life was turning out versus what she had hoped for herself.
And guess what? That is a reality for a lot of people. Yeah. But at the same time, that's adult issues, right? Yeah. Meaning that he should not pick up the weight of that. Exactly. You know, I understand that is your father's issue to deal with and things like that, and how their marriage was and how they was basically getting along or not getting along. But he cannot basically like, hey, I want to redo, and I'm gonna do a redo with my family to where I get the makeup of how my mom viewed me as a teenager, and I get to give my kid everything. But at the same time, when it's time
supply for my wife,
while at the same time you're pulling from business accounts and laying on the couch looking at the ceiling like, how I'm gonna fix this? And then what's gonna happen is besides you actually fixing the problem, you're gonna repeat the problem, and then you're gonna be depressed with the sadness that's stuck in your legs and things of that nature. And then you're gonna be like, no one's there to provide for me. And you know what you gonna end up sounding like? Your mom. You get what I'm saying? Because now you're taking on the weight of something that no one asked you to pick up in the first place.
Yeah. For me and my relationship and how I like to operate, I appreciate directness. And I think that when people walk on eggshells around conversations, it leads to more confusion. Yeah. To where if we talk straight to each other, we can figure out the situation and get to the other side of it without a beat. Now, when it comes to Nick, and Orna was asking him, what do you mean you kind of brought that up while she was planning that you didn't want to spend this much money? And for her to say, he talked about not having the cotton candy machine. And it's just kind of like, okay, Nick, you are in a way like pussyfooting around with what you actually want to say because you don't want to be viewed as the bad guy. But at the end of the day, you are putting yourself in a situation to be upset because you didn't exactly say what it is that you needed to say and set the boundaries of what you needed to do because you want to be the good guy in the eyes of your wife and your daughter. And I think that you can have a conversation to where you establish boundaries, and you're honestly probably going to be more respected afterwards. I think maybe you might initially you might get some, pushback because this is new. Why you got a spine now? You know what I'm saying? But if you do it and you keep doing it, then I think that eventually it'll just become habit that, okay, this is what we have to work with, and we're going to work within our means. But like, I agree with you in the fact of his wife. She knows how to speak him, and she knows what he's saying when he's being vague. And in this situation, she didn't try to unravel his message because she wanted to have the party how she wanted to have the party. And if you're not going to say what you actually mean, then I'm just not going to get the cotton candy machine. And that's going to be the end of the conversation. And I think that Nick needs to improve in his confidence to set boundaries in his relationship and know that it's not going to damage his relationships by doing that.
Yeah. But that is weaponizing incompetence, and that's manipulative if she's doing that, which I think she is.
Yeah.
I wonder, is his behavior, is it proactive or is it reactive? Meaning that, is he proactively acting this way because he's dealing with his mom and he's like, you know what, my mom went through this and I don't want to go through this? Or is it reactive in the way of he may have tried to have a spine and may have tried to put his foot down, and maybe his wife or whatever reacted a certain way, and he just like, I don't want to ever be in a position to where I'm taking away happiness and joy.
And that's a real thing.
So that's why I'm like, was there ever a time, Nick, that you tried to be not passive aggressive, as I like to say, aggressive, right? And it was and the response was basically like, not to your liking. So now you're choosing this as like, you know what, I'm going to try to elude it and things like that because I don't want no argument. I don't want no backlash from you. I don't want no lip. You know what I mean? And I wonder, I think we're going to get more into their relationship because I really want to know what it is with her. You get what I'm saying?
And I will say, like, in relationships, I think there is a thing about picking your battles.
Yeah.
But I also think that you can't be afraid to have a disagreement. Like, if you're going to do life with somebody, you guys are going to disagree. And being afraid of their response and their reaction, unless it's DV, I'm not afraid that you're mad at me. You can be mad at me. That's fine. I can be mad at you sometimes. And then hopefully, we'll work it out the way that we need to work it out. But there is no reason to not say how you feel or try to establish boundaries in any type of situation because you're afraid somebody's not going to be happy. Yeah. That's life. Yeah, okay. People aren't happy all the time, but you'll figure it out if you guys can work at the problem and not work against each other. And the thing is, you might be working against each other at first until y'all set y'all sights on the problem, but you can't walk on eggshells. Like, I feel like that's just no way to live life. Like, you're never going to be happy.
Yeah. I'm not pulling from the business account. So guess what? There would have been a lot of anger in that house from the other party because I'm not angry.
Exactly.
I would have been like, I'm
good. I ain't got to worry about putting the money back.
I'd be like, Christopher don't have the money. Christopher Incorporated got the money.
Yeah.
But Christopher don't have the money. And they go, well, just pull it from there. I'm not going to do that. What's your contribution? You get what I'm saying? So I think there is something to, basically, he's trying to redo and trying to be a good husband and basically sacrificing his own happiness in many ways.
And he shouldn't do that. He should be able to be happy.
He's trying to be a good husband, trying to have this redo because he was a bad teenager. And I'm just like, you was a teenager. We don't really count those years. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Unless you did a crime, a felony. You know what I mean? A real felony, not like, back in the day, weed was illegal, then all of a sudden it's legal today, like a real felony, like you harmed somebody.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's all I got.
Subscribe, like, share, comment. We are going to continue to watch this show. They have released all the episodes, at least on our TV and things of that nature. So we are going to try to get this out as much as possible, as soon as possible. Y'all lock in, subscribe, and we see y'all next time.
Bye.